Okay, we're on another episode of TNT Weekly. Thank you very much for checking in. I'm really honored today to be in the house, in the home, in the restaurant. Everybody knows this place. Michelle Joyce of Indian Flames. Michelle, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Tony?
Great. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's awesome.
No, you're very welcome. I've eaten here several times. The food's amazing. I know that you just got behind the chef's table not too long ago in that
Yes.
pre-COVID journey. But for the residents locally that have tried your food and eaten here at your establishment and enjoyed the takeout and don't know you at all, I know you and your husband have been working hard to bring this restaurant to fruition.
Yes.
Could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Where do you want me to start? Just kind of.
Well, no, I mean, start on the, I know that if I go back to what I know of you, all
Yeah.
right, and heard about you, my wife Lisa mentions you and speaks very highly of you, that I find amazing that you used to be in the yoga business.
I was, yeah. I still am. I do privates and stuff like that, meditations. But yeah, I'm a certified yoga therapist. That's what I've been doing for the last several years. I used to have a yoga studio here actually in town at number 7 Paris, which is
Just down the street, right?
literally down the street. Yeah,
Okay.
like a 2-minute walk. And did that back in 2013 until about 2016, I guess, for about 3 years. But yeah, so I had a little yoga studio. I've traveled to India.
Were you in Alliston prior to 2013, or?
No, I moved here in 2012. From Toronto.
Okay, you're in
Yeah,
Toronto,
yeah,
right?
I'm from Toronto. My family moved up here. My dad and my mom, they moved up here several years ago. My father actually used to just live down the street on Wellington at the parish house there, church. So yeah, so we used to come up here and visit quite a bit. And I fell in love with this town. Alliston's an awesome,
It's the best.
awesome
It's the
place
best,
to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
So when I was looking, I was kind of in between things in my life, and I was looking at transitioning and where to go. So I thought I'd come up here for a bit, stayed with my dad, and lived with him for a while. And it was probably one of the best things I ever did for myself because everything really took off for me at that point.
Awesome. And from Toronto, were you married at that time? I know your husband is in the restaurant or knows a lot about the restaurant. Has
Yeah.
been around the restaurant industry quite a bit.
Yeah, Kevin is. Well, we know each other way back. We knew each other as kids.
Okay.
We grew up together, and then never seen each other for about 20 some odd years, and then reconnected.
Oh, wonderful. Here in Alliston, you did, or?
No, back in Toronto. We were
Okay.
connected about 12 years ago, I guess. And then, yeah, he's been in the restaurant business for a really long time. And then here at Indian Flames, when we moved up here, I moved up here first in 2012, and then he came shortly after, probably about 4 months or so after. And then I opened up the studio, and that's where I met Clyde, who owns Indian Flames.
Okay.
He was the owner of Indian Flames and the building, and he was one of my students. And that's how Kevin met him. And at that point, Indian Flames wasn't even here yet. It was just being built at
Yes,
the time.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just all construction and all that stuff going on. And then when the restaurant opened, at that point, I still had the yoga studio, and Kevin started to work with Clyde probably shortly after. Like, we were here with Clyde, celebrating with his family during the soft open. We've been a part of this restaurant for like a really long, like from the inception of it, really.
Okay.
And yeah, Kevin's been in the restaurant business. He's been here since the time it opened.
Yes.
And then went with Clyde to the steakhouse for a couple of years
Yeah,
until
the
we were
steakhouse
ready.
down on Victoria
Just right on
Street.
Victoria
Yep.
Street, yeah, table
Yep.
for two. And until we were ready to take this over.
Okay.
So
All right. So before I get into that takeover stage, tell us a bit about your journey to India and
Yeah.
your stay in India, and it must have been amazing what you had learned there in that country.
it's a beautiful country. That was it was a real great experience. I moved there, and I say I moved there because I was there for 4 or 5 months.
Yes.
So I didn't just go for a visit. I lived there in an ashram for 5 months. I did my teacher's training for yoga therapy, and the experience there was a little play on words, but it was enlightening. It really was an eye opener. I mean, it's just such a fantastic country.
Yeah, the culture's amazing. Eh?
Oh, the culture is amazing. It's lively. I mean, there's music popping all the time. It's colorful, and there's people everywhere. And my first month was a huge culture shock, just because coming from here, I mean, it's so quiet outside.
Yeah.
And then you don't nearly have the population that they have in India.
Right.
And then to go there, and then the population, the people, the sounds. It was the first month was tough, and then afterwards I settled in. I knew once I was sleeping in a tuk-tuk coming home, I was home.
Yeah,
I
you
was
knew that.
totally comfortable there.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
it was an awesome experience, and met wonderful people and great friendships, and learned a lot about the food, and which was great, and studied Ayurveda there as well, which is like the sister science to yoga. So there's a lot of nutritional background with that,
Right.
which connects with my holistic nutrition that I studied. So it all plays in, but I learned a lot there.
So in your if I may use that term again, enlightening, which I believe you totally on that aspect. Did your learning and your practice and what you gathered there, was it more of a focus on yoga therapy, or did it also include the food aspect of now?
No, it included the food
as well.
Oh yeah, well
The
when
cuisine and
Yeah.
everything. So it was cooking part, like.
I just kind of took what I could and from who would teach me.
Yeah.
So where we lived, there was a house, a chef, I guess, a lady who worked there, and she cooked for us every day.
Yes.
So I would spend time with her while I was there, trying to learn what it was that she was doing.
Yeah.
Also for myself, when I first moved there, I was vegan, and which was challenging because their food doesn't have vegan
Not too many.
options.
No, not too many.
No, so it was challenging. So that's where I really needed to put myself into that kind of role and kind of learn, like, what can I cook and what can I eat, and took what I could from that. And so the ladies there were wonderful in teaching me what they could.
So I can kind of see I can see an enlightening period of yoga therapy that while you're cooking here in Indian Flames,
Yeah.
there's an enlightenment in every dish. That could be that's a good plug, isn't it? I think that's
It could
perfect.
be your tagline.
An enlightenment in every dish.
That's right.
From Michelle, right? No, I love that. I can feel that totally. So thank you for letting us know a bit about that journey, Michelle. Now, what's really I think a lot of the listeners don't know, we've all gone through challenging times. We've all remodeled ourselves, evolved, had to do what we've had to do to get through these present times. But you as a business person, you and Kevin, the takeover of Indian Flames restaurant was right prior to the shutdown, and here you are. Trying to understand. You had your layout for your tables and your seats and your chairs and your design and envisioning how many people were going to be here and everything. I could just imagine. And then a week or so, boom, you're shut down. You haven't even served anybody, basically, right? And then I did notice your takeout inception, like every restaurateur did here locally. They jumped right onto the takeout area of the business, but it must have been a difficult time. If maybe you could share that, and I respect you so much in your journey, how you can just flip and try to survive. We all are trying to survive in our way, and the way you and Kevin did it, and I haven't even expanded into what else you've journeyed into. Just jumping into takeout when you were prepared to serve everybody in your restaurant to a full house. How did that affect you? It must have been challenging.
Oh, it was. The plan for us to take over Indian Flames, this was going back, so we started really nailing everything down probably around October in 2019. So we set the date in December for April 1st.
Yeah.
That was just a date that kept on coming to me, and I said to Kevin, I said, that's a good date. You know, let's let's talk to Clyde and let's set April 1st for taking over Indian Flames. So we're like, yes, okay, we're going to do that. So I was here just doing some final training and stuff with Clyde. I think it was probably about, it's the 15th or so of March, I guess, was that week.
That was the shutdown.
Yeah.
My birthday's on the 14th. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Turning 60 and the world shut down. That was it. What a birthday party. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Real great birthday party.
One to remember, for
yeah,
sure.
one to remember.
Yeah, so the week was, it was the week of the 15th, and we were, you know, cooking and all that stuff, and then just got that notice from Simcoe Health.
Yeah.
That everything was to
Shut
be
down.
shut down. I think it was supposed to be like midnight on the Tuesday or something like that, and I was like, oh my God. Both Kevin and I were just like, we were like, what is going on?
Yeah, I
here?
know, exactly.
So we, luckily, our menu, I mean, Indian Flames has always had an established takeout business, which is good.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not to the extent of what it is
Today.
now, what it had to become.
Yes.
It was very small in comparison to what it was. I mean, mainly it was a dine-in restaurant. So the major changes at that point, there was just trying to figure out what's going on. You know, are we open, are we closed? Okay, we're closed. But the major changes happened when it was April 1st when we took over.
Yeah.
We had to completely switch gears. So at that point, there was no dine-in. You know, we had to remove tables. We had to just go fully takeout. So we were looking at our menu, and luckily most of the stuff was able to just kind of go that way.
Yeah.
Where we ran into a lot of challenges is that our food, as much as our food, we can use local products, there's a lot of stuff we couldn't use locally. And it wasn't just our borders that were shutting down. India, where we get a lot of our
Everything
stuff
else,
from,
that's true,
that
yeah.
is shut down.
All the supply chain.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where we ran into huge problems. I mean, luckily we were able to maneuver around it. We were able to start sourcing stuff locally to see where we can use things locally in case things are completely shut down. So talking to like, you know, specific farms that grow lentils
Yes,
and all that
yeah,
type of stuff, just
yeah.
trying to see what we can do. But the supplies were getting lower and lower, and we'd go down to our supplier, and some weeks we wouldn't have this, and there wouldn't be this, and so that was a challenge. So then we just, you know, where we could, when we made a little bit this week, we stocked up there, and it's just we just kept on trying to stay a few feet ahead all the time.
Gotcha.
Always looking forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what kind of was able to get us through, because if we were stuck in the mindset of, oh my God, what are we going to do? I don't think we would be here right now, still today, 6 months later. So for both of us, luckily, we have a lot of experience in the industry. I mean, for myself, even pre-yoga days and all that stuff, I worked in hospitality and all that stuff years ago, waitress, bartender, that was my life.
Yes.
And then Kevin did the same, and so we just said, okay, no, we got to keep on looking ahead.
Yeah.
You know, not look for, you know, this moment right here. And one thing we both said to each other when this all happened is we said, okay, we're not going to open up our dine-in until we know it's completely safe. So we decided at that point we would just focus on the restaurant as being a takeout restaurant until we were able to do the patio. And the patio we luckily already had in place back in, I guess it was February, I think at that point, talking that we can do like a non-permanent structure outside. So we already had the patio idea in place. And then I think the week before the patios were set to go, that we were allowed to do, I think in phase 2.
Yes, yeah.
We are already starting to prepare. So I said to guys, we were saying, okay, we need to be ready. Both of us were like, we need to be ready, have certain things in place, so when they say go, we can set that outside up.
And I remember that go, because I was the
You
first
were
customer.
The first customer.
The first customer at Indian Flames
On the
patio.
Friday night.
My wife and Wendy Gabrick and Craig,
Yes.
we were there,
that was
and we had a
awesome. Thank you
blast.
so much.
No,
That
it
was
was
so great.
well, it just felt so good to be alive and get out again.
Yeah, and some kind of normalcy, right?
Absolutely,
I mean, one of
absolutely.
the things, like for us, when we open up, like you were saying about all these dreams and ideas when you open up the restaurant. I mean, the idea, you want your customers here, you want
Yeah.
them inside, you
Yeah.
love hearing the chatter, you
Yeah.
want to be able to socialize, and you know, the beautiful thing is an open kitchen, so you can cook and you can talk to people, and we really wanted to have that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
having the patio and you guys here that night and everything, that was just
It was
like
great. We had a it was
yeah,
it was
some
a
kind
great
of
it was a great
normalcy.
It's funny how these little memories in time and what they mean and what they were.
Yeah,
That's a memory that I won't forget
yeah,
ever.
like you're,
It was
and I'm
just
glad
a
to be
moment.
part of that.
Yeah, it was planted in history, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, you know, you've continued, Kevin, have continued to evolve.
Oh, yes.
If you know, this does not look like a restaurant.
No, it doesn't.
It does not look like a restaurant. And how they've continued to evolve here is just absolutely incredible. The entrepreneurial vision and spirit that they have to continue when their first vision was food service industry
Yeah.
is just incredible. So what you've done is, and I don't know how you delved into this, but I think I saw some market exposure. Lisa was keeping me up to date. Oh, these beautiful purses and beautiful this, but you have, it looks like an Indian textile shop here with
Yes.
pillows and blankets and
Yeah.
tablecloths and artifacts and clothes and it's beautiful. It goes on, and you have like a retail store now
We
in
do.
Indian Flames, still with your takeout business
Yep.
going on, etc. How did this come about? Because this is incredible, and from my understanding, well, I think now with the second wave,
Yes.
obviously very present. It does resonate with me what you said several minutes ago. We're sticking with takeout in the restaurant until we know it's safe.
Yeah.
And I think your mindset has stayed on that track.
It has. Yeah. It's
Right.
complete. We haven't deviated from
You
it.
haven't deviated. You knew
No.
that a second wave was
Yeah,
coming.
we've foreseen it.
You knew that it wasn't going to be safe to set up shop inside.
Mm-hmm.
So tell the audience how you've channeled out, and now you have this retail, beautiful shop. Until you, ladies and
Thank
gentlemen,
you.
you have to be inside Indian Flames to really feel what she has brought in here. But
you.
how did you get into this? Obviously through survival and entrepreneurship, but it's just amazing what you have here. Please let us know.
Yeah, this is one of the things Kevin and I always talked about. When we first, this is probably going back like you in 2011 when something happened and transpired, and we're like, we should, look into doing like an Indian textiles business, like imports. And it just never panned out, never happened. But it was always there in the background,
Yeah.
always there in the background. And when we took the restaurant over and we couldn't have dine-in, we had a lot of real estate in here that wasn't generating anything for us.
Sure, yeah.
And we're like, okay, well, we need to do something with the space. So at first we're like, okay, we're gonna put like a little Indian market type of stuff, and that's still kind of like we're working on little bits and pieces of this, little bits and pieces of that. And then a lady who, I didn't meet her, but I connected with her on social media probably about 3 years ago. And it just didn't, the timing wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big person on timing and divine intervention, but the timing wasn't right, and so we never connected. But I said to Kevin when we were talking about it, I said, I said, whatever we do here has to stay within the experience. Like, we need to create an experience for our guests. So it's one thing to come and have Indian food, but if we're going to be selling anything in this marketplace that we're creating, it's got to be Indian. It's got to stay with the culture. And I have a love for Indian textiles. Like, you would not believe how much I brought back with me when I went.
I can tell by what I see. I can tell.
When I went to India.
Yeah.
But so I said we were saying, okay, what do we want to bring in? And we're thinking, okay, maybe some nice block printed tablecloths, things like that. If they can't eat here, maybe our customers can bring that dining experience home, so they can buy some food and maybe pick
Okay.
up some table. But that's what my thinking was,
Okay.
So you can't have dinner here, but you can create your own Indian
Interesting.
dining experience at home.
Okay.
So I reached out and looked for the lady who had this business, and I couldn't find her. It took me days and days looking online, and I eventually found her, Stacia, and we connected. And she's like, well, when we did connect, her business, she said she's closed down.
No way.
Yeah.
That's divine intervention. That's
and I'm like,
divine.
oh my gosh, you shut
No way.
down. What are you talking about? So I messaged her. I said, this is what my husband and I are doing. We have a restaurant. This is my experience. India, da da da. So she knew that there was some kind of connection there. And she's like, you know what? I have some stuff. Why don't you come meet me? We can see what we can do. So I went down to meet her, and in the storage unit, and I must have spent about 7-8 hours there. We were going through everything, but mostly her and I connected on such a deep level. It was unbelievable. Like, we just talked, and we talked about our experiences in India and our love for the people, our love for the culture, and our love for the textiles and all these things that they make and create, and our experiences there, and we just kind of, you know, I don't know who said it first, if it was her, if it was me. It's just like, I was just like, you know, I would take all this if I could.
Yes. And yeah. Okay.
And she was like, oh, just give me a moment. And then she left, and then I was like still going through, and then she came back and she goes, so I talked to my husband, and my husband said, I think the universe sent you here. And I'm like, okay, I think so too. So it was really like a great kind of because she was looking to release all this stuff to somebody, but she said she couldn't just do it to anybody, to sell it to anyone.
Wow.
She's had many offers, and some of her offers were some for really big corporations out there, and she said no. And the reason why is because she formed and nurtured the relationships of everyone who's made all these pieces here. So the nice stuff about all these textiles are all handmade. They're vintage pieces, made from repurposed saris, vintage blankets, old wedding dresses or
No way.
gowns.
Really?
All the stuff
Oh my
there.
goodness.
So, but she worked there in international development. Her
Yeah.
husband was in IT, and they met. She had to go to villages where she met people and saw the stuff that she was doing, and so she started that business from the ground up. Knowing my connection to India, my love for the culture, and I was actually planning on going back in January, and then decided not to, and it's a good thing because they probably would have to come home early. And but we talked, like her and I, about, you know, this is a perfect transfer of everything.
It's a perfect relationship.
Yeah, and really like we're like family now. Like it's just a beautiful connection. Like her
When
and
it's
I.
easy and it's relationships are so important. Like when it's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, it just kind of
Just
all
falls
fell into
into
place.
Yeah.
And that's why I was talking like divine timing, because it wasn't right back then.
Yeah.
And I first just picked up a few pieces, and then we talked, and it's funny because I came back here that night after being there for like 7 hours, and I said to Kevin, I said, we need to talk. And he's like, let's do it. He already knew.
Wow, good for you. So wow.
Yeah, he already knew. So I mean, obviously it's a transition, and it's great. So I mean, we're really happy about all this stuff being here, and like I said, we have a love for it all.
Incredible. I didn't really realize that about the fabric of all the textiles and where they come from and the meaning behind them. I did not know that.
Yeah, so a lot of it's like block print, and they're all worked by hand.
Wow.
These here, say like just something like this here, is like that's a neckline. That's from a gown, from a dress. So they take all these pieces. These are little laptop bags.
Wow.
But they take all these pieces and they repurpose it. So it's something that we can really learn from.
So not only is your food enlightening, your textiles are enlightening as well. There's a message behind.
There's a message, yeah.
Wow,
there
that's
really
deep. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, there really
Did
is.
not know that.
Yeah.
So that's an incredible journey. So now here you are, pre-COVID panic, reassemble, get your vision straight, stay on track, and now Indian Flames consists of really a textile-friendly vision of Indian crafts and items with phenomenal Indian takeout food. And if it's a sunny day, you get to have a cold beer in the patio too.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. This is really incredible. I did not know that about, especially the textiles aspect of your business here. So is this something that you think you're going to hold on to and maintain, let's say, in a post-COVID world? This is staying?
Yeah, this is something, I mean, we like I said, we talked about doing it before. COVID, you know, it forced us to have to, I mean, we've always been kind of think out of the box people. Yeah. But it really forced us to think out of the box. Like it was, it put us in a position where we had to do something. Right. So, you know, when we decided we're going to do it, the Textiles is just, this is something that's, definitely going to stay. We have its own business name. It's called Copper Bowl Studio, and it has an Instagram and Facebook page, and now an online store that I accidentally put live today.
It's accidentally
but it's live now.
I hope it's not free.
No, it's not. Free. No. But no, it's not going anywhere. Okay, so I mean, we'll see where everything else goes, but I can just see this really growing.
Beautiful.
The restaurant.
Really wonderful.
Forth.
In your food takeout, do you do levels of catering, like wedding?
We've offered catering.
Yeah. Okay, that's fantastic.
We've offered catering, and so that is an option for anybody doing
larger events
or parties at home. I mean, I don't know what's happening at this point, but I mean that is always an option. Yeah. And so there's the dine in. As for the patio, we're going to try to keep the patio going for as long as we can. Yeah. And we're looking at getting some heaters and stuff outside and try to keep that going at least until November if we can do that. And just have to come a little more bundled up.
It's exciting, on a January. I make it interesting, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Really great having you on the podcast. It's been really incredible finding out a little bit more about you and your journey and Kevin's, and so much hard work and planning, but you're survivors. It's really impressive. And all in Alliston, surviving talent, and enlightenment in every dish, enlightenment in every item here.
I just put that as our new tagline.
I love it. I just really love it. But is there something that maybe I missed, Michelle, that you'd like to share with the listeners out there? You work so hard in serving our community with your wonderful food and your textile business now. Is there anything that you'd like to share?
I think we covered quite a bit of it. I mean, you can find our hours, all that stuff online, so all that stuff's there. And we have our Instagram and Facebook page, so give us a follow. And no, other than that, just mainly just to really thank the community. I mean, we wouldn't be here without
it's the best community.
The community here in Alliston. I mean, the support has been unbelievable.
It's the best.
And everybody really rallying to help out the small businesses. And,
absolutely.
And so we are very blessed and very grateful for all that. So I do thank the listeners
absolutely.
for that.
So no, I totally agree with you. This community is the best, and it rocks. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this.
Yeah, and thank you, Tony,
it's been great.
for thinking of us and inviting us on.
Absolutely.
Here.
Love your food and love your presence and love your enlightenment.
Thanks.
I love it. Just very deep. So Indian Flames, for your takeout, phenomenal food here. Michelle and Kevin put their love into it. If you haven't checked out their store, their restaurant inside, they're not serving, but it's a store. Like Texas, it's everything Indian, and as Michelle was saying, just how the fabric and everything comes together for the textiles that she has sourced out to serve us here in this community. It's quite wonderful. I really love it.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, remember, best Indian food in town, Indian Flames. Michelle, see you on the next show.
Bye.
Bye. That's it.
That's it. Awesome.
Pretty good, eh?